plan for the scenario, and everything in the world doesn't happen to plan. And then we have the agility to adapt to the situation.
What you do presents value, but it is small compared to the greater sum of what your business is doing for the world.
If it's made properly, it shouldn't really age.
Who do we do this for? And unanimously, everyone in the room at the same time said the patients. Hello and welcome to the Digivid Bio channel. We're here to help healthcare marketers and entrepreneurs establish the skills that they need to go out and make great quality video content for themselves, working with partners strategically like ourselves, and other independents in the industry. So we want to help guide healthcare professionals making smart choices about their content strategies and building out their marketing to include video in a more creative and engaging way. So I'm going to introduce the team and we'll give you a little background as to who we are, why we're here, why you should trust us with your video content education. And then we'll dive into a little bit more about what we're going to explore on this channel that's going to help you as a marketer in your space. Trip, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into producing with Digivid Bio, and what makes you interested and engaged in this healthcare space.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my dad was worked in advertising. So every once in a while I would be on set and got to see cameras and actors and see the whole production cycle. And when I went to college, I realized that's really what I wanted to do. And shortly after getting out of college into COVID, I found this wonderful job through my network at Digivid Bio, where I could be a producer. We're remote, which is what this format looks like. And it's really cool because I get to, one, be in that set production style, but also engage with marketing and see some really cool stuff and all of the things on the bleeding edge of bio life science industry.
Okay, I have one more follow-up question. So oftentimes in your role at Digivid Bio Trip, you bridge the gap between clients and the creative team. Can you tell us a little bit about, what are the things you feel like a lot of healthcare marketers don't understand about the role of a producer on their video content?
Yeah. I think one of the things that with the advent of AI, I think we've really come to realize the importance of people like producers or managers, people who can take the idea and translate it to the people who can make it happen. So that's really what the producer does. It takes, we have this marketing plan. We want to do this, and this. We want to reach these people. How do you do that? You go through a producer to the video team or the creative team or the animation team. And those creative people talk in feelings, where these people are talking in words and very big descriptors. So we're really just an intermediary to really help facilitate all of that communication back and forth between the creative side and maybe more of the analytical side of marketing.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great point. I'm going to hop into the next person. So Nason is a member of our creative team. He's a videographer and an editor. So kind of following the whole flow of a project from the beginning all the way into the post-production. Nason, tell us a little bit about your background, what got you into content production, and what you enjoy about working in the healthcare content space specifically.
Well, just like Trip, I kind of just grew up with production. Like a lot of my first memories is having a camera to my face and being told, "Hey, you should do this," and not knowing why. I'm just all right, let's do it, and then seeing the outcome and seeing myself on a computer. I'm like thinking, "Whoa, a camera captured this," and from there, I got older, and in high school, I went to media production and got addicted to it. And then after high school, my brother introduced me to Adam, and after that led on to me getting introduced to you guys in Digivid and creating a lot of these medical videos.
Now that you're in this kind of niched market, I'm more curious about over the years exploring that world through Digivid, like what's become like the highlights for you of being in that space specifically.
Yeah, so the excitement and joy that I have from like high school and being young and creative never went away with this type of production, because even with like doing these medical stuff and creating patient testimonials, the joy of creating a story is still there. And when it comes to these type of shoots, the fact that I have a way to create something that some people will just think it's just someone talking, but to make it an impactful thing and to get other people to be involved, whether it's a treatment or just something to get another answer to. I feel like I have that same joy from making little skits to PSAs to now making these medical videos. It's really it makes me feel that it makes me still feel young that I'm still making these videos that still make me feel happy at the end.
Yeah, I love
I don't
that.
know if
I'm
you
glad
feel that.
that,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm glad that through the years as you've, like, grown in your career, you're still able to find joy, and that working in, like, a space that's I feel like it's so constantly evolving in medicine and, like, the biosciences, so it does make you youthful because you get this, like, giddy, childlike part of yourself that's every little thing that a client tells us about that they're exploring in the medical space is like something new and revolutionary and you're just like
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's
excited.
also learning something new, right? And getting, and I think also Trip mentioned that just being ahead of what's going on and just seeing it in face to face is pretty cool. And to know you get to tell these type of things to other people who don't know, what's going on, and to have that information and being young to know all these things is pretty cool.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks, Nason. Our next person on the docket is Adam Mariner, and Adam's been with Digivid for a very long time, longer than myself. Adam is not only like a senior member of our creative team, but he's also a fantastic DP. As a documentarian outside of this work, he also has been a really gifted director and done a lot of not just leading creative direction, but even some of the administrative side of things of pulling together production. So he's very apt in multiple facets of production. So Adam, tell us a little bit about your background and then what moved you into this like niche healthcare space and what makes you passionate about what you do every day.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. It's been really fun for so many years, over a decade, that I've been able to work with the people over at Digivid and DigiBio, and it's been awesome because for me, I started my career in entertainment media, right? That's kind of the dream, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to be working with celebrities and be traveling and work in LA and New York," and I did that. I got to do that, and it was really cool and it was very rewarding, and I learned a ton about the industry during that time. But DigiBio really values each member of the team, and we all work together to make sure that, like, not only are we making really great content, but we are living in a way that allows us to continue to make great content, because so many people in our industry do get burned out. And so, a couple of things about my career after that, I started contracting locally in the Phoenix area, started traveling. I met the owners of DigiBio many years ago, and they started the company. And they came to me and just said, "Hey, we need some really reliable people that we know to work with us, and we've worked with you before." And I was so lucky to say yes to that, because I've been there ever since. And one of my favorite things about this work is the fact that, like, I love, like, new technology and people taking risks and, like, learning what's on the horizon. And so there's so many times where I know Alyssa's like, "You're really into this on set." Because I'll be asking after interviews over, and while we're cleaning up, I might be asking the PhD MD or the owner of a new company, like, "How do you even think of this? Like, this is amazing. Like, you said in the interview these things." And it does help us tell the whole story sometimes, is to get to know them a little bit better, be excited about what they're doing, because in so many ways, the things that we're doing is going to affect people's lives more than just like selling a product. When we tell the stories we get to tell, we get to ask people, what was it like to come home cancer free? Or what was it like to have the information to have an educated decision when you never had that before, because of a diagnostic test? Or how is this research going to change the future? And they're pumped and excited because they know that this will lead to a pharmaceutical that's in testing right now or going through FDA approvals right now that will turn a chronic disease that may kill you into something that's totally manageable. It'll give you a normal life. And that's really cool to me to see it changed people's lives. And so going from this entertainment media dream that most people in production have, right? We all want to make movies and things like that. It's so cool to tell super impactful stories and treat them like movies where we get to make them look good and sound good and make people feel things. That's what I love about what we do is I didn't sacrifice anything in my creative wheelhouse by coming and working in the medical industry and in video. And by the way, guys, Nathan's being a little modest. He's filmed on every continent in the world. He's 25 and has done more than most production people I've known in my life. And so being able to work side by side with the people we get to work with is super rewarding because we love to tell the story. And it's not just another set up camera, hit record situation. We really want to tell the story.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to give a quick introduction to myself and my personal bio. I'm a video producer with Digibid Bio. The way I got introduced into this career is, really, I've been interested in video production from a very young age. From like 13 is when I first got into video content. Did that throughout school and then went on to college. It wasn't until college that I got really niched into the administrative side of video production. Every time I was working on independent projects, everyone I worked with wanted me to be that person who's like making the phone calls for them, like contacting potential locations, figuring out if we need to have insurances, talking to the talent, like putting out audition notices, stuff like that. All of the like paperwork things that make videos happen, I've always been doing that. And I love it, which is weird, apparently. Most people don't enjoy that part of it. But for me, it's very fun. It's very fulfilling. I feel like the work I do makes the jobs of the creative people much easier so that they can focus on doing what they do best. And I love getting to see them be fulfilled in their roles, and they get to do that because of the work that I do as a producer. Um, and also just making it easy for clients. You know, I went into a commercial agency almost immediately outside of college, and I've worked at a couple agencies, and then eventually I decided to take the internal corporate job, building out a studio for a B2C company. And that's a story for another day because that was a nightmare, but we'll talk about that later on the channel. But I've loved being a part of the agency environment and helping people who aren't in the video space better understand how to take advantage and leverage video. I was at an event recently, a women's and bioscience event in Phoenix, and something that one of the speakers said was, "Who do we do this for?" And unanimously, everyone in the room at the same time said the patients. And I think like a lot of people in our space, it's not that they don't care about the audience, but they don't get to think about it in the same context that we do because we work so niched in that medical space. Like we know that everything that we make for our clients is about serving and catering to patients and patient care. And I think that that's a huge motivator, knowing that you're helping in some roundabout way sometimes, right? Like in the long term, like what you're creating is out there helping, serve patients and improve healthcare. So this is a really great point, Adam. I also wanted to give you just a quick follow up because you have been in so many facets of the production space. And so I think that a lot of healthcare marketers who are new to video or haven't done a lot of it, they're going to come up across new challenges that are completely foreign to them. So, can you give me an example of like what is to you like common problems that you love solving or fixing or working with on set?
A lot of my background after I left entertainment media, and I really wanted to get into documentary filmmaking, and I got to do that. I still make documentaries. I do that outside of DigiBio. And the cool thing about that skill set that I developed was when I was in entertainment media, we were at the house and we got to light the entire house. Or we were in the studio and we got to light the entire studio exactly the way we wanted to, days in advance and things like that. It was a big production. And so we had control over every single space that we filmed in. In our world here, we may be in a clinic that is active where we have one room. We may be in an office that's kind of small, or we may be in a beautiful suite in a hotel outside of a conference center. We really don't know the space we may be filming in. And so Nason and I, every time we get to a new space, we get to go, okay, how do we make this look awesome? Right? It's almost like this challenge that we get to address almost every time we get to shoot is where are we going to be? What is it going to look like? And how are we going to make it look awesome? And that really is something we flexed while making documentaries because there were times where we were in an airplane and having to film or on a sheet of ice where everything's either blue sky or Antarctic ice, right? So it's like being able to be in a space and go, all right, how can we make this space help us tell the story? And then the other thing is we're not dealing with actors. And this is something also from the documentary world is we're working with medical professionals, with CEOs, with entrepreneurs, with technologies companies, right? So a lot of our clients are medical technologies companies. These aren't people who are used to being in front of camera. And I am really proud of how our crew makes friends in such a quick way on set. Like we meet the people, we want them to know that we're rooting for them. And we really try to make them feel like they're our friends, someone we care about, and we want them to look and sound good. And on frequent occasions, had people reach out to us afterwards. And this makes us feel amazing and say they made us feel comfortable. We laughed together. We had a good time. Thank you for making this fun for me. I was very nervous. And so being able to work with people who don't work in our industry and have them walking away going, "Man, that was really fun," or "Man, that really I got to tell the truth. I got to tell something I really cared about and I got emotional." That doesn't happen every day, right? So the fact that we're not really like traditional like news media, we get to we're not playing a gotcha game is really rewarding because every time we step on set, it's like, "Hey, join our team. We're part of your story. Let's tell that story in the best way possible." So those are the 2 things that came to mind, I guess.
You kind of hit on this in a way, like you talked a little bit about the agility that the creative team has because of the kind of documentary style background. And I do think that that flexibility on set is really valuable to people in the healthcare space because, like you said, there's a lot of variables you just can't control in those environments. And there's restrictions and limitations in those environments. But I would also say that what makes an agency like ours unique, as opposed to like individuals or independences, because we're not a one man band. Like there's kind of the unification of what Trip and I do, and I hope he'll echo this sentiment. As producers, like our job is almost the exact opposite, but at the same time, we're not working in opposition. Like we are really unified in the way that we work. So Trip and I as producers, we are the strategists who help our clients, especially healthcare marketers who maybe have a little less experience in this space and in making creative content. We help them uncover the things that they haven't thought about yet, that allow you to more efficiently execute in your content creation. So I can't tell you how many times we're on a call with someone and we ask them questions preemptive to the project, and they're like, "Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. That's not something that occurred to me." And by unlocking those things early before we start the production, it just enables them to be very precious with their time as a marketer, which they have little of. And also, more importantly, I think with the patient and with the physicians, or whether you're with a lab tech or whoever it is, like people in the healthcare space, people in the biosciences, their time is very finite for dedicating to something like a marketing initiative because it's just not their job, it's not their priority. More often than not, they're not excited to be a part of it. And I think that we're unique in the way that we help marketers make those people happy to be a part of it, and we're also so conscious of their time, and the way we establish a plan and a strategy in advance. So, like, I do think that yes, the agility is beneficial, but then at the same time, the relationship between that and the planning and strategy in advance comes together to just make things a lot more fluid and efficient.
Yeah, Alyssa, I think that's a great point. I think it's we plan for the best case scenario. We just plan for the scenario, and everything in the world doesn't happen to plan. And then we have the agility to adapt to the situation. So we make the best plan for our situation, and then we make adaptations as we go. It's both worlds, like you said. It's both are kind of opposing ideas, right? Agility, being able to do everything on the fly, but also having that tedious, monotonous, go through all of the steps to get there.
Yeah, and I will say, talking a little bit about my own background too, like I've definitely been, as someone who worked in commercial media that was more narrative driven, so working with actors and larger crew sizes and being on bigger sets, I do think that something I really love and appreciate about what our team does and the way that we work in that documentarian style is everything just rolls off our backs so much easier, right? Like anything that doesn't go exactly according to plan, a doctor came late, or I just feel like we have this crazy level of patience and understanding for the reality that what we're doing is so small compared to what the people we're working with are doing. It's just a really tiny piece of a greater puzzle. And while what we do, I believe, presents value to those businesses and to patients ultimately, I do think that we understand, like, our marketing clients, the CEOs and other C-suite level employees, and all of the physicians and other clinicians that we work with, we understand their space, and so we are, like, so forgiving and patient and accepting when things don't go as planned and the thing, communication isn't as strong as it could have been. Or And I think a lot of people in our industry really, really struggle with that, and they don't let things roll off their back so easily. And they're very precious with the work that they do because, again, coming from like a narrative commercial space, so much time and money and effort is put into execution and making everything like fall into place just perfectly. And it doesn't have the kind of agility that the type of work that we do in the space we're in has.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is we have the experience where we're like, "Oh, man, this doctor's late," and then they walk in, they're like, "I'm really sorry, there was a complication in surgery today. Everything turned out okay, though." And you think, I'm glad he didn't rush. Like, whoever was under the knife and he or she's, OR, I'm glad he didn't rush. We can get this video done, make it look great, and I'm glad that doctor didn't rush. So to your point, like, we know the work that our clients are doing, and just a shout out to our clients, like, we have great clients. I don't know if it's the sales team and the way they find them, but it is I don't it's hard to think of any times where I was just like, man, these people are hard to work with. Like, they go to bat for the video, they know the value, and that's probably those pre-early calls, some of which I've been in and some of which I haven't been in, where they know that we're serious. We know they are about their videos. Everyone cares about the project. Everyone's going to bat for it. And it's fun because there's been several of our clients who our point person has moved companies and we've moved with them, and then we picked up a new client that way, primarily because they become someone who we trust and they trust us and we work well together. And so it's been really fun, laugh, joke, go to dinner after set with our clients because they're great. They're great to work with. We make great videos together. So I think there is a little bit of synergy that we've been able to create that I think reflects in the quality of our content that we make for them.
And just the
Yeah.
build of that trust, like, they have so much on their plate. I mean, as much as that video is important, they trust us to make a great video at the end of the day, and know that while they have other things going on, they just know that, all right, I don't have to worry about what angle they're gonna shoot this interview. They are like, we are the experts. So, and I think that's also a great relief that most of our clients deserve, right? With all the other stuff they got going on their plate.
Yeah, I think some of that is the industry that they work in influencing the way that they work, right? Like I've worked in commercial spaces with clients, both B2B and B2C in different markets. And I've definitely had my fair share, and I'm sure you guys have too at previous jobs, like my fair share of like difficult clients. And I do think like one of the unifying things for our clients is working in medicine, the medical and bioscience and biotech spaces. Like I do think that everyone in that industry kind of shares in the experience of knowing how, like, as a marketer, like what you do presents value, but it is small compared to the greater sum of what your business is doing for patients, for the medical industry. So I think that it enables us to like let go of our egos and also to like be very collaborative because again, like you think about the CEOs, like a lot of the C-suite employees at these companies we work at have been in the field. Like they've been in research and development. They've been practicing clinicians, they've they've been someone's doctor. So I think that they have those experiences and they know how collaborative those spaces are and we know how collaborative those spaces are. um and I think that a lot of times that bleeds into the way that now becoming an entrepreneur or a business owner, they take those concepts that they've learned from that practice and bleed that into their new business. So even if they're, developing and selling a product or, whether that's the diagnostic testing or a piece of med tech or a new app or, something in the AI space, I think that they manage their businesses very differently than a lot of leaders in other industries because of that understanding of the space that they're in and how collaborative it has to be to succeed.
There are so many companies we've worked with who we've been with for maybe 5 to 7 years, and they've grown like crazy, and we've just continued to grow with them and make more content or adjust the content budget to do more for them. But we're so accustomed to customizing, I guess, the needs of each business by listening to what they need, right? Listening to what their ask is, understanding what their market is, because we're so niche in this space, we know what it takes for like a startup who has limited capital, maybe they're still in the investment capital phase, to get their message out, to do it in a way that's effective, right? We can work with their budget while also having the experience and the history to be able to work with our other clients that have been on the market for a long time. Maybe they're public and they have larger budgets and they have bigger projects where we can expand our crew with more contractors or whatever. So the fact that we've grown over the last 15 years with many companies, we understand that when a startup comes to us and they're like, "Hey, this is how much money we have. We need to make something, but we don't know what to do." We can go, "Awesome. Let us help you learn what to do," which is kind of why this whole vlog thing came about, is because we were sitting and talking about like, man, we have all these great clients. There's a lot of education that we get to give them. And once we give it to them, they can like, man, they can make some great content. They can grow their business and that gives us more business and it's a win-win and everyone grows together. And so like I think this channel is going to be a lot of fun for us because one, we'll be able to share our knowledge with them in a way that's going to be effective, but also, we'll be able to take those meetings that we're in where we get these really cool, engaging questions that we get to answer and bring it to content here and go, let's tell this to the rest of our, our audience. Let's tell this to the rest of our client base and let them know, like, hey, this was a cool thing that we did for a project. This is what we learned from it. This is why it was helpful in the medtech space. And then allowing our clients to grow with us to be more effective in their videos because again, like you said, these companies are experts in the world sometimes of what they are focused on. But genetic diagnostics or med tech isn't the same as video production. And so if we can be that knowledge base for them, it's only going to make all the content for our clients better because they'll have more knowledge on how to do it.
And that's a great transition because I want to hone in for our viewers, like healthcare marketers who are watching this content, what they're going to get out of this and what we're trying to help them understand or do for them or provide them. So I'm going to stage this question to the group. What are some of the biggest hesitancies, concerns, like alerts that go up for healthcare marketers when they're looking at doing video content production in your experience? Ah,
Budget. Budget's
When they
big,
see
you
the
know?
price.
Yeah.
yeah, money is a huge concern for a lot of people who, especially if you don't have the experience and you don't know what to expect to spend on something. And you're answering as a marketer, you're answering to your C-suite, right? So you've got these leaders who also have not done this before, don't work in that space, have no idea what it should cost. And you know that at the end of the day, your job, your commitment to them as a marketer is to help them make more money and hopefully not cost them, an excess of money that they don't want to spend on marketing. So that's a completely valid concern, and I do think on this channel we'll talk, I think, pretty in depth about a whole variety of contributing factors that help you understand how to budget for video, but also, comparing cost and value and figuring out what cost decisions make sense as a business.
Yeah. That's ultimately, what it breaks down to, because it's not just, yeah, the cost is a big part of it, but we want to be making more money than we are spending, right? And it comes to, the resources we're using, what what channels we're distributing on, what um style of video we're creating. Is it live action? Is it remote recording like this? Is it animation? Is it a display ad? There's so many different ways we can help you use your money to bring in more money. And hopefully, again, with this industry, it's not just about the money. It's about how far can we go with this money to stopping cancer, to increasing research for Alzheimer's, all these different things that we've worked with amazing people. It's what we can do with what we have.
I think a lot of it comes down to value. Because we have clients that have large budgets and we have clients that have small budgets, and we'll get into this in future videos. But really, what it comes down to is what's the value to the customer, and understanding what that value is, and then delivering that value in video. So I think a big thing is that budget versus value and understanding that is tough. I also think, like, what does it take to get to step on set? Right? Like, the travel, the gear, the scripting, the scheduling, sometimes, yeah, you're having a conversation on a Zoom like this, and there's a famous doctor who's like, I'd love to talk about this on video. But everyone wants him to. And he's just a really nice guy who says yes a lot. And then his management team is like, your next availability is 2027, or 2029. So I think that's the other thing that you guys as producers do a really good job of. And I'm glad that, like, having been a producer in the past and on my independent films, I'm the producer, um, helping the client understand, like, hey, to get to post production, to get to where we have all the footage that um, we need to do all these other things prior to. And what's cool is when you hire a team like ours, is the list of things they have to do shrinks dramatically because you guys do it.
I think
So,
time is huge. Like, for a lot of healthcare marketers, it especially if you have a small team, like if you're at a medical business and your marketing team is just a handful of people or maybe even just you, um, you have to be very precious with your time. And so when you think about adding onto your plate, creating a video content strategy for your business and producing media regularly and then publishing it regularly, scheduling it and creating the CTAs for it. And there's so many components from the point where you have an idea to what gets it out into the world and then what keeps it engaging, because like we know that content isn't as effective when it's one and done. Like, putting out a single video is is where you're not going to get value. It's how you're not going to be able to quantify the cost. And you've spent money to make this one thing, and it's probably not going to create a huge revenue increase. If you want to have quantifiable cost for content, you have to be strategic and you have to have consistent output. We understand that, and we know that there are healthcare marketers who get it. But what's scary is the time. Is where are they going to find the time to keep coming up with those ideas, to keep pulling in clinicians to participate in the content, to get their C-suite leader who's going to represent their brand to sit down in front of a camera once every, couple of months to be recorded for this. Like, how do they make those things happen logistically? And where do they find the time to do that while they're doing 20 other jobs, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like Mason, I'm sure you can speak to this a little bit, is there's a lot of times where we strategically plan and film something that we know is going to go a lot further than what the client asks, which means that if they're just desperate for content in a situation where maybe they have a big release coming up or they need to have a big push for branding recognition, they just need content, and they may not have the time or the budget to go film a bunch more. How often, Mason, do we run into an edit where we're like, "Man, you could make 10 videos with this interview."
Oh, yeah, yeah. It happens quite too often, honestly. And it's not that it's frustrating, but it's like when you know the client can make more off of these, but sometimes they don't see it like the way we do, But at the same time, there will be a client that will see the value. I mean, I believe there was one marketer we talked with, and they kind of compared like paper marketing, like marketing on paper, right? Compared to marketing that's on video. Paper can just go away. It can just dissolve. Rather than video, you can just keep it forever and keep playing it. And it shouldn't, if it's made properly, it shouldn't really age. It should always stick to what was the whole call to action, like what was the whole call to action about.
Yeah.
But also when it to add on about like adding things that the client don't think is needed. I like when we do a lot of after the interviews, when we do B-roll, we will tend to tell the patient or doctor just an explanation, like a walk and talk. And usually that will get into the video rather than just like a statement they said on camera during an interview, because they feel a lot more loose. Usually if it's about a product, right? And we tell them, hey, you know what? Take us to the product and just give us a demonstration. We tend to get more value and more information based on that, because now they feel like they're not being interviewed. They're just being like if they were at a conference talking to another person that wants to invest, or just something that they can relate to. I feel like when we do that, we get a lot of value that the client don't really think about, because again, it's our creativity, it's our mind we've done this so many times that we know it usually works. So yeah, I think that happening a lot is usually a common thing.
Yeah, what's cool is like we're pushing. I think the whole team's pushing towards a goal of like whatever video is going to be given back to the client based on what the contract says. But it's been fun occasionally where you, me, or Trip, or let's all of us have had the experience where like, hey, can you send me the transcript? Because I think there's like 10 videos that we could pull from the interview that are shorts that they could use. Maybe we'll just make the suggestion to it. They don't have to buy it, but at least they know that it's been filmed and it's sitting on our servers ready to be used. If it ever comes around, we're like, hey, can you take this topic from the interview and just make like a 30-second short? They get more content out of each shoot that we do. It's a win-win all the way around. And those are the little things that I think that we'll talk more about in future episodes on how to strategize every time we're on set. Every time we're on set, let's think of ways to make this footage more dynamic, more usable, and more usable on like on multi-scale, whether it's the long form 2 to 5 minute video or a 30-second piece that's going to be shared out in an emailer to remind people about a conference. Whatever that is, we can get more out of your footage. And I think one of the things I've experienced in the past with other production companies is they kind of hoard that footage because they want you to pay them to come back out and film more. And so we have the opposite, I guess, kind of feeling. It's like we would love to film with you all the time. That's not the issue. But we also know that every dollar matters in your budget. And we need to get the most value out of what you're spending. And I think that's a cool mindset that we have that's not universal.
Like talking time, money, and resources, because we're a little bit more strategic as an agency than your typical independent video person, or like bringing on a singular video person to your internal team. I do think that between the culmination of all of our experience in the commercial and corporate spaces, and also just us working in video as like our day-to-day, our bread and butter, There are things that we help our clients with in understanding where the market's at, where it's heading, and where to be. So leveraging platforms and understanding like what types of media trends are going to impact performance of your media. What platforms do you need to be on right now? Why? How do they present value? I think a lot of I love the industry we work in. It's amazing how we can work in a market in healthcare and biosciences where they're constantly pushing for the next great thing for medicine while their marketing trails miles behind. And I think a lot of healthcare marketers would agree with that. And it's not that they're not doing their jobs or they don't know how to do their jobs. It's that one, it's impossible for like a single person to keep up with the constant evolution of marketing. So when you're like in a small team, it's hard to keep up by yourself. And two, it's not being heard or knowing how to be heard and how to sell these things to the leaders, to the C-suite people who aren't on social media, who aren't using those platforms, who don't understand that, their audience is moving to these places, right? I can't tell you how many businesses we work with who aren't using Instagram, who aren't using TikTok, who don't do vertical video, who are trailing behind on AI. And even though they're using like the newest leading technologies in medicine, they are not thinking forward in their marketing strategy and specifically as it relates to video. So I think that a big part of this channel is also just helping people stay up to date. Like there's too much information to possibly know it all and ingest it all by yourself. It's really great having a community of people who want you to succeed as a marketer, who are willing to read and research and stay on top of the information and then make it digestible for you and keep it consolidated in this, one video you can listen to in the background while you're driving to work or while you're sitting at your desk and you're working, it's in your ear, right? So I think that we're trying to help provide information to marketers in a way that's convenient for them and consolidates things so we stay up on the trends that are happening in content marketing so that you don't have to, because it's too much to keep up on these things while also doing your job.
Yeah, like I said, we work with clients that are on the bleeding edge of medical advancement. If they're focused on this completely ever-changing, evolving industry, they're not going to be able to focus on all of these other completely changing, ever evolving industries. And so it's really helps that niching down.
So I think that covers really where we're at on like what we're hoping to achieve with the channel and how we want to help marketers in this space and the type of information we're going to try to provide to them with this channel. So definitely stay tuned to the channel, keep an ear out because more episodes are going to come out every week, at least twice a month. You'll get a new episode on the channel of this particular vlog series. And then on top of that, we'll also be re-releasing our webinars here that also cover digital marketing trends so that you can understand the digital space as well when you're making strategies for yourself as a marketer. So that's the type of things we're going to talk about here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this inaugural episode of our Digivid Bio vlog series. We hope you enjoyed the content. You learned a little bit about what to expect out of this channel and some of the key things that other marketers in your industry are going through. So please make sure that you subscribe, leave us a comment so that we know you're out there. Tell us the type of things you want us to talk about on this channel, questions that you have about content marketing and video production. Help us bring you the answers and solutions that you're looking for in your job and your role. We look forward to learning more from you, and we hope we can help you learn some from us. Tune in the first 2 Thursdays of every month to catch new episodes and catch our webinar the third Thursday of the month every month.